Welcome to Love from Lisha. For an extra dose of love in your day, click subscribe and the bell to be notified when new videos go live weekly. Today, we'll be talking about the dangers of clinging to assumptions. How many times have you made an assumption about another person, about yourself, about a situation, and later found out that it wasn't quite right? There were some holes in your story that you had created. You were clinging to being right, so sure that you knew absolutely what was going on, what was right, what was wrong, how you were wronged, how other situations had wronged you, how other people had wronged you, only to find out later that maybe that wasn't the case. I have an example where I was at a Starbucks and there was a man who was waiting for his drink for someone named Emily, and then there was also an Emily there waiting for hers, and they called out Emily and she said, "Oh, that must be mine because I was here before you." And he was like, "No, I think that's mine." And so then they went back and forth about whose Emily drink that was. What were the chances that there were two Emilys that had both ordered drinks? The interesting thing was that he didn't even know for sure what drinks this Emily had ordered. He was just there to pick it up, but he assumed he was there to pick up two drinks. There were two drinks available under the name of Emily. They had to be his. The other Emily, she ended up taking the drinks and walked out. And then the man went up to the barista and said, there was someone else here by the same name, and she insisted that those drinks were her. She just stood there and insisted and was so stubborn about it and just left with my drinks. He called them his drinks that she had walked out with. He was so sure that he had been wronged, that she had taken his drinks. Those drinks with the name Emily had to have been the ones that had been placed by the Emily who had ordered the drinks he was there to pick up. He was so certain and so mad. You could sense him venting and fuming over it, so sure that he had been wronged, that this person had had the nerve to take his drinks to insist that they were hers, when in fact he was so certain that they were his. So with continued attitude towards the barista and, just in the environment, he then said, well, I guess I'll just have to order them again and have to wait here for the drinks that were mine and someone else took. Exact words, not even exaggerating. All of this exactly as it happened, as I saw it. And so the barista was really nice and said, no worries, we'll take care of that right away. So then he's waiting for his drinks. You can see in his body language and his facial expression, he's very irritated about still being there waiting for these drinks when he should have been on his way with the drinks that had come out earlier. Then fast forward a few minutes later, one of the baristas said, are these drinks the ones that you were waiting for? And he said, oh yeah, let me check the text message. Yeah, those are the ones that she had requested. So then they'd made him new ones and found the ones that were previously available, but just hadn't been put out on the bar, had been put somewhere else, but had been there all along. And his reaction was one of this quiet kind of like, oops, okay, yeah, I guess that those hadn't been my drinks. Those were the other Emily's. Those drinks are the ones that were mine based on what I now know had actually been ordered rather than what I had assumed. And he came across as being humbled. And I was thinking, wow, he spent all that time so irritated and worked up and putting forth this negative energy and also this unhealthy energy within himself of that agitation and frustration and irritation that he was standing there with that is so unhealthy for him personally too. And then to have that embarrassment and that awkwardness, and for what? Because he needed to be so certain that he was right. He couldn't give this other person the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know his story. Maybe, there is this trigger, something sensitive. There likely is. But what I learned from that is how important it is to not cling to a truth that might have some holes in it, to get curious, to be flexible, to be open to the thought that maybe there's more information here that I know of. Maybe there's a missing piece that is waiting to be discovered or just won't be discovered. But to cling to something, especially when it's bringing about this negative energy and emotion, it doesn't do any good. It's not helping anything or anyone. So I encourage you to think if there's something right now that you're clinging to as being the truth and it's causing agitation, resentment, irritation, frustration, consider how you might be able to let that go. If for nothing else, then to have compassion for yourself of like, you know what, I deserve better than to be carrying around this negative energy over something that can't even be changed right now. Or get curious about what else can I learn in order to fill in some pieces that might be missing, to know more about the whole story. Oftentimes we hear there's always more to the story than we realize, and oftentimes there is. Oftentimes things are never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem. So get curious, find out more, what's coming up for you as I share this, and keep this in mind as you go forward into the future and something triggers you to think, what am I assuming here? What's true? And what is this story? What holes am I filling in order to complete this story and put it in the perspective that I'm choosing to hold it in? If you like this video, please click like, share, subscribe, click the bell to be notified of upcoming episodes. And for more about me, my website is coachlisha.com. Until next time, with more love from Lisha. Bye.